Man, there's a lot to unpack with the Ravens right now. And we've got to start with Keaton Mitchell because this whole situation has been one big roller coaster. You remember how good he looked as a rookie, right? Explosive, fast, the kind of back that makes defenders hesitate before they commit. Then he came into this season and looked even sharper in the preseason. Everyone could see it. This kid was ready for a real role. The burst, the speed, the way he hits the hole with confidence, it was all there. Fans were buzzing. Analysts were praising him. And it really felt like Baltimore had something special cooking in the backfield. But then the season kicked off, and for some reason, Keaton Mitchell wasn't even active. Week after week, we were sitting here like, what is going on? It made no sense. The team kept saying things like there weren't enough snaps or that his role was redundant. But come on, you could see how much the offense needed that spark he brings. It felt like they were holding themselves back. Finally, after what felt like forever, Mitchell was activated. And the crazy part is, it didn't take long for him to remind everyone why people were so high on him. His performance against the Vikings in Week 10? Electric. He only had a few touches, but every time he got the ball, it was like the field tilted in his direction. For carries for 31 yards, including that long 22-yard run that had everyone jumping off their couches. He saw the hole, hit it hard, and once he got through, the acceleration was unreal. That's exactly the kind of energy this Ravens offense needs, a change of pace, a different look that keeps defenses honest. When John Harbaugh was asked about him after the game, you could tell the tone had changed. Harbaugh admitted they need to use Keaton more, said it plain and simple. Yes, more of him. And for Ravens fans, that was music to their ears. It's what people have been saying for weeks. Harbaugh explained that they had been intentional about mixing things up, but hadn't really followed through on it. He mentioned how tough it is to take plays off Derrick Henry's plate, which, of course, everyone understands. Derrick's a workhorse, one of the most durable running backs of this era. But at the same time, it's about balance. Harbaugh said they want to find that sweet spot where everyone can be effective, game by game, depending on matchups. And honestly, that's exactly what the Ravens should be doing. Because when you look at it, using Keaton more doesn't just help him, it helps Derrick Henry too. Taking a few carries off his shoulders now could mean a fresher, more dangerous Henry come playoff time. We've seen what happens to big, physical backs when they're overworked deep into the season. Saving some of that gas for January might be one of the smartest moves Baltimore could make. And really, when you think about Keaton's style, it perfectly complements what Henry does. Derrick is the hammer, the power back that wears you down. Keaton is the lightning, quick cuts, instant acceleration, and that top-end speed that makes one missed tackle a potential house call. Together, they can create the kind of 1-2 punch that makes defensive coordinators lose sleep. What's funny is that the numbers back it all up too. If you take a look at yards per attempt among running backs with at least 15 carries this season, Keaton ranks near the top of the league. He's averaging over 6 yards per carry. That's insane efficiency. It shows that every time he touches the ball, something positive happens. Sure, he's not breaking off a huge run on every play, but that consistency matters. You can tell that once he gets more reps and finds his rhythm, those explosive plays are going to become even more frequent. When you go back and check his game log, you can see the trend. His debut wasn't anything crazy. 3 carries for 8 yards in that rough outing against Houston. But then as he got more opportunities, he started flashing. Against Chicago, he had 4 carries for 43 yards. Then in Miami, it was 4 for 11. And of course, against Minnesota, that's solid 4 for 31. So right now, his usage seems to hover around 4 carries a game. And honestly, that feels too low. You bump that up to 5 or 6 carries. Maybe give him a couple of catches out of the backfield, and you've got yourself a legit weapon. That kind of workload keeps him involved without taking too much away from Henry. Plus, it gives the offense another dimension, a bit of unpredictability that can catch teams off guard. It's wild that Baltimore even let it get to this point where Mitchell wasn't active for so long. Because when you look back, it's not like he was struggling in the preseason. He looked sharp, confident, explosive. There was no logical reason to keep him sidelined that long. But hey, better late than never, right? Now that he's in the mix, the Ravens have to take advantage. You can line him up in motion. You can use him in shotgun formations. You can even pair him with Henry in the same backfield to create mismatches. There are so many creative ways to get this guy involved. What's great is that Harbaugh seems to recognize that now. And while he's still being cautious about taking too much off Derrick Henry's plate, there's room to give Keaton those touches. Because this isn't about replacing Derrick, it's about complementing him. It's about keeping both backs fresh, unpredictable, and ready to roll when the games really start to matter. The thing about Keaton that stands out is that he doesn't need a ton of carries to make an impact. Some backs need 10 or 12 touches before they start finding their groove. Not him. He can come in cold, take his first handoff, and boom, 20 yards, just like that. That kind of explosiveness is rare. And that's why fans were so frustrated seeing him inactive earlier this year. You've got a player who can flip the field on a single play, and you're not using him? It didn't make sense then, and it still doesn't. But at least now, it feels like the Ravens are correcting that mistake. Harbaugh also mentioned that part of Keaton's increased role comes from his effort, not just in games, but in practice and on special teams. Apparently, he's been grinding, making plays even when he's not the one getting the ball. Harbaugh pointed out a couple of moments from the Vikings game where Keaton made a difference on special teams, including a key tackle inside the 7-yard line that helped set up the Ravens' defense for success. That kind of hustle doesn't go unnoticed. It shows he's locked in, doing whatever he can to contribute. And when a player earns it like that, coaches tend to reward it with more opportunities. You can tell from Harbaugh's tone that he's genuinely impressed with how far Keaton's come. He said that over the past few weeks, they've seen him come alive, getting back into rhythm as both a runner and a special teams contributor. That's the thing people sometimes forget. He's still young. He didn't get a ton of action last year, and it takes time to adjust, to get those game reps and confidence back. But now, it looks like the coaching staff is starting to fully trust him. You can see it in the way they talk about him, and, more importantly, in the way they're using him. It's a sign that maybe, finally, they're ready to unleash him. And honestly, the timing couldn't be better. The Ravens are deep into the grind of the season, trying to stay healthy, maintain that offensive balance heading into the stretch run. Having a fresh, fast, dynamic player like Keaton Mitchell in the mix could be exactly what they need to keep defenses on their heels. He adds a spark that's been missing at times, and if they really start featuring him, it could completely change the rhythm of this offense. For Baltimore fans, it's simple. They've seen the flashes, they know the potential, and now they just want to see it all come together. Keaton doesn't need to carry the offense. He just needs to be part of it. Because when he is, good things happen. Now shifting gears a bit, the other big story coming out of Baltimore this week has been the injuries, and unfortunately, Rashod Bateman is right at the center of that conversation. The Ravens picked up a big win, but it came with a cost. Bateman went down after what was clearly a hip drop tackle. One of those plays that looks awkward from the start and usually ends badly. You could see it happen in real time, the defender trying to bring him down from behind, swinging his weight and falling on Bateman's legs. That's the exact type of hit the league has been talking about eliminating. Yet here we are again, no flag, no protection, just another key player limping off the field. After the game, reports came out that Bateman was seen in a walking boot, and later he confirmed it was a high ankle sprain. It's frustrating, because those plays are dangerous and completely avoidable if the rule was actually enforced the way it's supposed to be. When John Harbaugh was asked about it, you could tell even he was fed up. He said it looked like a hip drop tackle to him, then joked about whether he'd get in trouble for saying that. It was a little jab at the league, but an honest one. He's right. The NFL made a big deal about cracking down on those tackles for player safety, but if officials aren't calling them when they happen in plain sight, what's the point? It doesn't help a player like Bateman, who now has to deal with weeks of recovery. And the thing is, high ankle sprains aren't minor. Depending on the severity, you could be talking about anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks of rehab. For a receiver whose game relies on explosiveness and quick cuts, that's brutal. You can tape it up, you can fight through it, but it's never the same until it fully heals. Bateman's situation is tough because he's been trying to get into rhythm all season. You can tell he's been frustrated by the ups and downs, the injuries, and the constant questions about his role in the offense. But just when he starts to find his groove again, something like this happens. It's the kind of setback that messes with your confidence. And honestly, it's not even his fault. The league needs to do a better job protecting players from those reckless tackles. Harbaugh mentioned that Bateman should be okay, but that they'll know more as the week goes on. Still, it's hard not to worry. High ankle sprains can linger, especially for players who rely so much on acceleration and agility. What makes it worse is that this comes at a time when the Ravens are already dealing with a few bumps and bruises across the roster. They've been playing physical football, grinding through tough matchups, and that always comes with a price. But Bateman's injury stands out because it could affect how the offense operates over the next few weeks. Without him, the team will need other guys to step up. You're looking at Zay Flowers taking on an even bigger role, Nelson Agholor getting more snaps, and maybe even a bit more involvement from the tight ends and running backs in the passing game. The good thing for Baltimore is that Lamar Jackson has shown he can spread the ball around and keep the offense balanced, but losing Bateman hurts. He's a crisp route runner with strong hands, and when healthy, he's the kind of player who opens things up for everyone else. Harbaugh said the team expects to know more midweek, probably by Wednesday, which is when the injury report comes out. But he didn't specify whether it's a mild or severe sprain. The hope is that it's on the lighter side and that Bateman can return sooner rather than later. Still, you can't rush these things. A premature return could easily make it worse, and the Ravens can't afford to lose him long-term. The schedule ahead doesn't do them any favors either. They've got games against the Browns and the Jets coming up, two teams with physical defenses that love to test receivers. In theory, Baltimore should be able to win those games without Bateman, but you want him back and healthy before things ramp up again. Because after that, they face the Bengals, and that matchup could have big implications down the stretch. What's wild is that even though Bateman's not going head-to-head with Joe Burrow, his absence still changes the dynamic of those games. The Ravens' offense is different when he's out there. He's that steady presence, that chain mover on third down, and without him, you're relying more heavily on big plays from the young guys. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it adds pressure. Zay Flowers has been excellent, but you don't want to overload him. And while guys like Devin DuVernay and Nelson Agholor can fill gaps, none of them bring that same blend of precision and explosiveness that Bateman does. So, it's going to be a real test for the Ravens' depth and for the coaching staff's creativity. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL world is buzzing after reports surfaced that veteran defensive lineman Calais Campbell is on his way back to the Baltimore Ravens. According to ESPN sources, the deal is all but finalized, sparking a wave of excitement and speculation across the league. While no official announcement has been made by the team, insiders close to the situation suggest that both sides have been in quiet negotiations for weeks, with the Ravens eager to reinforce their defensive front for a potential deep playoff run. Campbell, known for his leadership, power, and locker room presence, left an undeniable mark during his previous stint in Baltimore. His return would not only bolster the Ravens' already formidable defense, but also reunite the squad with one of its most respected veterans. Fans remember Campbell as the heart and voice of the defense, a player whose energy often matched his size. Now, whispers around Owings Mills suggest that his comeback could reignite that same spark. The 38-year-old six-time Pro Bowler was reportedly weighing several options, including retirement, before this surprising development. Yet, sources claim the Ravens' unfinished business pitch struck a chord. The franchise has long valued his leadership and work ethic, and this reunion could signal a final push for a Super Bowl that has eluded both Campbell and Baltimore in recent years. The move also raises questions about the team's defensive rotations and cap space, as Campbell's experience could mean shifts in the depth chart. Still, for many Ravens fans, those are details for another day. The mere thought of seeing number 93 back in purple and black has already lit up social media with excitement and nostalgia. While nothing has been made official, all signs point to a deal nearing completion. The Ravens have remained tight-lipped, offering only the usual no-comment responses when pressed by reporters. But behind the scenes, the chatter is loud, and the league is watching. If the reports hold true, Baltimore may have just pulled off one of the most emotional and strategic moves of the offseason. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.